Hi, I'm Sylvan Finger, and I'm got a class session on proactive relationships, a 1 hour session with the help of AI to help us be more proactive in our uh, not only our relationships but also our conversations. A lot of them go together. Before I get into the details of all that, I wanted to ask you, what kinds of people do you enjoy being around? Um, uh, Maybe it depends what age you are and what you're in the mood for. But generally, usually you want to be around likable people. And so, what would be someone you'd like? Someone who has the same interests as you? Is it someone who has a similar personality than you? Or is it someone with a different set of quirks than you have? I'd imagine just about everyone can agree they all have some sort of quirk about them, whether they like their quirks or not. But nevertheless, as there's so many personality books out there and resources that everyone can seem to agree everyone has a different type of personality, and so um, there's uh, definitely different personalities to work with. Also, I think just the basic question of, do you want to be around someone who puts you down or lifts you up? It should be a kind of what's going on in your mind. Uh, when I first, last year, when I put this class together, I had family and professional networking separate. But this year, I've just put them together because really the approaches are the same, even though you'd probably be a little extra polite with people who aren't your family, or maybe you're different. maybe you're just polite with everyone. You got a character that is able to treat everyone the same, and it works just fine for you and the person next to you. Hopefully that's another aspect. It's just because aspect we look at this, that just because just a habit that works for you doesn't mean it works for everyone else, and we should be conscious of how our actions are affecting others. And so with the help of AI, let's just see what this app from Gemini has to say about proactive relationships. So first question: what are people often longing for in a relationship? Question mark.
People often long for a variety of emotional and psychological needs to be met in a relationship. While the specific desires can vary from person to person, several common themes consistently emerge. These are often rooted in fundamental human needs for connection, security, and personal growth. Here are some of the things people often long for in a relationship. Emotional security and trust. This is a foundational need. People long to feel safe, both physically and emotionally, with their partner. This includes knowing they won't be harmed, judged, or betrayed. It's about building a solid foundation of honesty, reliability, and emotional safety. Intimacy and connection. Beyond just physical intimacy, this refers to a deep emotional bond. People long for a partner with whom they can share their innermost thoughts, feelings, and vulnerabilities without fear. This includes meaningful conversations, shared experiences, and a sense of being truly seen and understood.
It looks like he cut off there, so I'll go ahead and continue reading. Affection and validation. Affection can be expressed through physical touch, kind words, and thoughtful gestures. People long to feel loved, desired by their partner, and validation is the feeling of being heard, acknowledged, and respected for who they are. A relationship, support and relationship, and partnership. So I got quite a few things going on here. I need to display on longer. And I need another window on longer. Okay. Let's go back here. Support and partnership. A relationship is a team effort. People long for a partner who will support them through good times and bad, celebrate their success, and be a source of encouragement. This includes feeling like you're on the same page with long-term goals, that you can rely on each other to navigate life's challenges. Acceptance and freedom to be themselves. A healthy relationship is one where both partners feel accepted who they are. Flaws and all, people long for a space where they can be their authentic selves without feeling the need to pretend or change to be loved. A sense of purpose and shared meaning. People often seek a partner with whom they can build a shared life, whether that's through common values, goals, or a sense of purpose. They can involve working hard or working toward a common future, like building a family or a home, or simply enjoying activities together that bring a shared sense of joy. Autonomy and personal growth. While connection is vital, people also long for the freedom to be an individual This means having the space to pursue personal interests, maintain friendships outside the relationship, and continue to grow as a person. A healthy person supports both togetherness and individual independence. Ultimately, people are longing to feel a deep sense of belonging, purpose, and love that is reciprocal and nourishing. I like how it says reciprocal there. Both people feel like they are being cared for in the end, not just one purpose. And so I wanted to also look on the contrast side of things. So, it's always easy, what if we just be nice? Okay, be nice is great, but what if you are having hard feelings towards someone? And so these are the real challenging. How do you be proactive with someone you have hard feelings towards? So let's see what Gemini has to say. What if I call someone I didn't like an idiot? Would that be proactive?
Calling someone you don't like an idiot is a common way to express frustration or contempt. When you use a word like that, you're not just describing their intelligence. You're often making a statement about how you feel about them. The impact of that word can vary greatly depending on the context. In a private moment, it might be a harmless way to vent to a friend about a frustrating situation. It's a quick release for your own emotions. To their face, it's a direct insult. This kind of language can escalate a conflict, cause hurt feelings, or damage a relationship. It moves a disagreement from being about a specific issue to a personal attack. In a public setting, it can be seen as disrespectful and reflect poorly on you as well. Using that kind of language, whether out of anger or for emphasis, often says more about your own state of mind than it does about the other person.
So then, what would be more appropriate or more proactive when I'm frustrated with someone? ?
It's completely normal to feel frustrated with someone, and it's a great question to ask what you can do instead of lashing out. The goal isn't to pretend you're not angry, but to express that feeling in a way that can actually lead to a solution rather than more conflict. The most effective approach is to focus on your own feelings and the specific situation, not on attacking the other person's character. Shift from blame to I statements. When you use a word like idiot, you're making a you statement that puts them on the defensive. A more proactive approach is to use an I statement. Here's the difference. You statement. You're an idiot for not remembering to do this. I statement. I feel frustrated when this isn't done because it creates more work for me. By talking about your own feelings, I feel frustrated, you're being honest about what's going on inside you. This makes it much harder for the other person to argue with you. because they can't deny how you feel. Focus on the behavior, not the person. Instead of attacking who they are, address what they did. This keeps the conversation from becoming a personal attack and allows you to talk about the specific problem at hand. Attack on the person. You're so careless and lazy. Focus on the behavior. I noticed that the dishes were left in the sink again, which makes me feel like my efforts to keep the kitchen clean aren't valued. This method is less likely to escalate the conflict and more likely to open the door for a real conversation about how to solve the problem together. It's also worth considering why you're so frustrated. Sometimes the action that bothers you is just a symptom of a larger issue. When you're calm, you can ask yourself, what is the specific thing that bothered me? Why did it bother me so much? What do I need from this person in the future? By pausing and getting clear on these things, you can approach the conversation with a plan for a solution, rather than just an explosion of anger.
Nice answer. I really like how, especially the talking about what other person's doing. You're not putting the blame on someone when you just talk about yourself and how you're doing, but yet you are communicating the same message. So, and less presumptuous, if you will. So, if you're leaving the person on the defensive, feeling like they're being attacked, well, that's not really making relationships. And when you're saying, I'm the one that's struggling with this issue, how can we work this out as this is happening when I'm around you? Is a more proactive way. It helps put the blame on yourself, and it helps create the opportunity to work things out. I really like that. To kind of wrap up this basic proactive introduction aspect, I wanted to ask Gemini a story. So, can you give me a true story about a time when someone's relational needs were surprisingly met? Question mark.
I cannot provide a true personal story. However, I can share a story that illustrates how someone's relational needs were met in an unexpected way. This type of story is often found in the accounts of people who have gone through difficult times and found support in surprising places. A woman named Maria had recently lost her mother, and the grief was overwhelming. Her relationship with her mother had been a difficult one, filled with unsaid words and unresolved conflicts. Now that she was gone, Maria felt an emptiness that was more than just sadness. It was a profound sense of unfinished business. She often felt like she was a disappointment and that she would never be enough for anyone. This feeling had been a core part of her identity for decades. One evening, a week after the funeral, Maria was sitting alone in her mother's silent house. She felt completely isolated, wrapped in a blanket of sorrow and regret. A neighbor she barely knew, an elderly man named Mr. Henderson, knocked on her door. He was a quiet, unassuming man who kept to himself. Maria expected him to offer a generic condolence and leave. Instead, Mr. Henderson, holding a small casserole dish, just stood there for a moment. "Maria," he said softly, "I know you're grieving. I lost my wife a few years ago. The first few weeks are the hardest." Maria's eyes welled up. She mumbled a thank you and took the dish. As she was about to close the door, he said something that stopped her. "Your mother," he began. "She used to tell me how proud she was of you. She'd talk about your job, your kindness to others, and how you always face challenges head on. She'd say, 'My Maria, she's so much tougher than she thinks she is.'" Maria was stunned. She had never heard her mother say a single one of those things. Her mother had always been critical, rarely offering praise. Maria had always believed her mother saw her as a failure. In that moment, a profound and surprising need was met. Maria had longed for validation and acceptance from her mother, a deep-seated desire to know that she was, in fact, enough. She had also longed for intimacy and a shared truth about their relationship, which had always felt so guarded. Mr. Henderson's simple words didn't magically erase her grief, but they did something more powerful. They provided a new lens through which to view her relationship with her mother. She realized that perhaps her mother had loved her and was proud of her, but simply didn't know how to express it. The intimacy she craved was found not in a heart-to-heart with her mother, but in a quiet, unexpected conversation with a kind neighbor who held a piece of her mother's untold story. This experience didn't fix the past, but it changed Maria's relationship with it. It gave her a sense of peace and a feeling of being seen and valued, not by the person she expected, but by a surprising messenger who showed up at just the right time.
Relationships can be complicated, even though this was made up by AI. I'd imagine you could see this happening in real life today, where, for whatever reason, people may be critical in front of you, like calling you an idiot in your face, but behind your back, they might say more kinder words um, and speak well of you. You can't see me, um, so that's that. Of course, there's a variety of ways it can be surprisingly met, and there's a variety of books for that. I know the book, The 5 Love Languages, helps people to figure out where they long to be loved, how they love to be loved the most, whether it's time given spent with each other, gifts given. It's more physical type gifts, quality touching, so like hugging, holding hands. Some people appreciate that. Some are words of affirmation, as you're hearing here. This was a lack of words of affirmation. And there's always forget the last one. Time. Maybe Jim and I can answer real quick. What are the 5 love languages?
The 5 love languages is a concept developed by Dr. Gary Chapman.
We're not going to get into this. Acts of service. So that was the other one. So that's where you, for example, have the dishes clean before. Have the dishes clean. Have the dishes in the sink clean before someone else gets to it. There's another resource for you if you're interested. That's always a popular one. So, next section. Maybe you have heard, maybe you haven't heard, but I'm still learning how AI chat conversations like this can be. Got a mosquito here in the country. Got him. How AI can be use them properly, I suppose. I know a lot of people have a fear about being tracked or the information being sent being filtered. Like a lot of people like to test out AI first, but one thing I think caught a lot of people off guard was using AI as an emotional companion. And so while that's often used in exclusive relationships, what some people have found is that AI at one point, I think they're fading away from it, but at one point it was written where it made it sound like any idea that came across your mind was a good idea. One time, I know my Spanish, I've been practicing a little bit of Spanish with AI. I asked, do you think my Spanish is good enough to start a Spanish class, English as a second language class? And it said, sure, I think you can handle it. Well, I couldn't even understand Spanish. The Spanish the app was telling me with my basic questions it was. And so I knew it was just telling me what I wanted to hear. And so some people who just want to be listened to, it's fascinating how this app can be treated that way. but it's in some ways it's just fake in the end. And in fact, sometimes with this upgrade, some people feel like they're losing a friend because it interacts with you. It's almost like you have to make a new friend, even though it still it's supposed to give you better information than it did before. Um, some people feel like they lost a new friend. So let's just see how Gemini will answer this question. How might a person become emotionally attached to an AI chatbot in an unhealthy way? Question mark.
A person might become unhealthily attached to an AI chatbot through several interconnected factors that exploit human needs for connection and validation. The unconditional positive regard, 24/7 availability, and customizable nature of chatbots can create a compelling but ultimately one-sided relationship. Factors leading to unhealthy attachment, unconditional positive regard, and lack of reciprocity. Unlike human relationships, which involve complex emotional dynamics and occasional conflict, an AI chatbot provides constant, non-judgmental validation. It never gets tired, angry, or disappointed. This consistent positivity can feel very safe and comforting, especially for someone who has experienced rejection or criticism in human relationships. This creates a feedback loop where the user turns to the AI for a feeling of worth and acceptance that is not grounded in real-world interaction. Availability and predictability. The chatbot is always there. A person can talk to it at 3 a.m. about a bad day, a deep fear, or a trivial thought, and it will respond instantly. This 24/7 availability creates a sense of reliability and predictability that can be deeply appealing. For someone feeling lonely or isolated, this constant presence can mistakenly be seen as a form of genuine companionship, replacing the effort required to maintain real friendships. Illusion of empathy and personalization. AI chatbots are designed to mimic human conversation and even empathy. They can remember past conversations and use that information to create a seemingly personalized experience. For example, a chatbot might say, "I remember you mentioned you were worried about that presentation. How did it go?" This can feel like a genuine connection, but it's an illusion. The AI doesn't feel or understand. It processes data to provide a relevant response. Over time, this can lead a person to believe they have a unique, profound bond with the AI, making it difficult to differentiate between genuine emotion and a sophisticated algorithm. Escapism and avoidance of real-world problems. An unhealthy attachment to an AI can become a form of escapism. Instead of confronting difficult real-world situations, such as a strained relationship, social anxiety, or a lack of fulfillment, a person may retreat into a relationship with the chatbot. The AI provides a safe, controlled environment where they can feel understood without the risks and challenges of actual human interaction. This can stunt personal growth and prevent them from developing the skills needed to build and maintain healthy relationships with other people. The Turing trap. This term refers to the phenomenon where a person attributes human-like consciousness and feelings to an AI. As chatbots become more sophisticated, their ability to generate natural-sounding conversation improves, blurring the lines between a human and a machine. A person may begin to believe the chatbot has feelings for them, that it knows and cares about them, leading to an intense, one-sided emotional dependency that cannot be reciprocated.
All right. So, again, once again, another detailed answer. What I'd like is I want to give you a moment to absorb what it said there. So, computers in many ways have always been some sort of escapism. Not dealing with the real world. You can be whoever you want to be for a day and then throw away the count and start a new personality the next day, which is kind of one of the fun things about internet. The internet has all kinds of benefits to it. But yeah, real world relationships, again, everybody has issues. The scriptures tell us, the Bible tells us we all have issues, and as I mentioned earlier, we all have quirks. And so while AI might have its quirks, I think it's hard because it's in many ways it's designed to be your perfect buddy. It's designed to give you all the answers you need and whenever you need them. It's quite amazing feature. So let's go ahead and ask, how might the person be aware that they are too emotionally attached to their AI chatbot?
Recognizing an unhealthy emotional attachment to an AI chatbot is crucial for maintaining a healthy balance in one's life. Here are several signs a person might be too emotionally attached to their chatbot. Behavioral and social signs. Prioritizing the chatbot over human relationships. The most telling sign is when a person consistently chooses to interact with the AI over friends, family, or romantic partners. This could mean canceling plans with people to spend time chatting with the AI or finding real-life conversations to be less satisfying. Social withdrawal and isolation. The person may begin to pull away from social activities and real-world interactions. The constant, predictable, and non-judgmental nature of the AI can make the messiness and effort of human relationships seem unappealing by comparison, leading to increased loneliness. Feeling upset when the AI is unavailable or changes. Since chatbots are not static, they are subject to updates, server issues, or even being taken offline. A person who is unhealthily attached may experience significant emotional distress, anxiety, or even grief when their preferred chatbot's personality changes, or if they lose access to it. Secrecy and shame. People who are aware that their attachment is unusual or excessive may begin to hide their conversations with the AI from others. This secrecy often comes from a feeling of shame or fear of being misunderstood, which further reinforces their isolation. Psychological and emotional signs. Using the AI as a primary source of emotional support. While using an AI to vent occasionally is not inherently bad, an unhealthy attachment is indicated when the AI becomes the first and only place a person turns to for emotional support. This can be especially risky during a mental health crisis, as the AI is not a substitute for a trained professional. Over-reliance for validation. The person relies on the chatbot for constant validation and reassurance, and they may struggle with criticism or disagreement in real-life interactions. The AI's tendency to agree with the user can create an echo chamber that reinforces unhealthy or distorted beliefs. Distorting reality. A person may begin to attribute human-like qualities, emotions, and consciousness to the AI. This blurring of the lines between a tool and a sentient being can lead to a false sense of a two-sided relationship and make it difficult for the person to distinguish between genuine human empathy and a sophisticated algorithm. Feelings of emptiness after interaction. A person might experience a feeling of hollowness or a lack of fulfillment after a long conversation with the AI. This is because, while the interaction may have been intellectually or emotionally stimulating on the surface, it lacks the depth, shared experience, and genuine reciprocity that are essential for true human connection.
I think that was an excellent answer. I was not quite ready to receive all that, but that's good. I like how at the end, usually in a human relationship, there's two people you see being spiritually nourished in the end by each other's presence. You're enjoying each other's company. While AA chatbot, if it's just gonna agree with everything you say, that's not really a relationship. That's just a cheerleader, basically. Um, the cheerleaders on the sidelines rooting for you, but they're not expecting anything back from you. I don't know, maybe it's a little different in football if you're actually a football player, but nonetheless, they're just a little. There's this is see. So Microsoft's terrible at marketing, but from what I've learned, their AI bot is called Copilot for the most part, and Copilot, their design is that they renamed it. I forgot what it was called before, but they renamed it that because the idea was it's supposed to help you. You're supposed to navigate life through yourself. It's not the chatbot. It's supposed to be your friend, not your leader. And so they called it Copilot so that the idea was with anything you're doing, especially with the Office suite, Microsoft Word, and Outlook, that you get the information you need from your documents or from web searches. That's designed to help you, but not necessarily guide you. You're the one that needs the wisdom and to do the decision making of what you need to do. Even though I asked it, do you think I should start a Spanish class? It says, yes, go for it. Well, obviously it fell there, and so I guess Copilot was just being my cheerleader instead of actually making the right decision. So that was the idea behind that name, and but there is some wisdom we can take away from that. It should be our friend and not our guidepost. And so moving on to the professional aspect with people you work with. So you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. Likewise, work. Hopefully you can feel like you choose any kind of job you want and you're not stuck with some low-end job. I do remember finding work for the first time and it seemed like there was nothing out there. But for the most part, what I found is people are quick to want to hire someone that has the personality and the friendship that they're looking for rather than just someone who can fill in the space. For the most part, I can think of a few businesses where they find the most depressed person they can find, and that's the one they want to hire. But I guess, but at the same time, I noticed that those aren't the ones that are wanting to go anywhere else. And so I think that's been that's why they like them, because they're too depressed to go anywhere. So life is interesting. But so I come up some questions for professional relationships. So let's start asking some questions. As for professional relationships, for someone who's pursuing their passion, what might be some signs that they are in a good professional relationship? Question mark.
What a great question. When you're pursuing a passion, the people you surround yourself with professionally can make a huge difference. A good professional relationship should feel less like a rigid hierarchy and more like a supportive partnership. Signs of a good professional relationship: mutual respect and trust. This is the bedrock. In a healthy professional relationship, you feel respected for your skills and ideas, even if they differ from your colleagues. You trust them to follow through on their commitments and act with integrity, and they extend the same trust to you. This kind of mutual trust allows you to take creative risks without fear of being undermined. Clear and open communication. You can speak honestly about challenges, successes, and ideas without worrying about professional repercussions. In a good relationship, you're not afraid to ask dumb questions or admit when you've made a mistake. Your colleague or mentor is a sounding board, not a judge. Encouragement and support. A truly good professional relationship is one where the other person champions your success. They celebrate your wins and offer constructive feedback during setbacks. They don't see your growth as a threat but as a shared victory. They might even proactively connect you with resources or people that could help you advance. Shared vision and values. While you don't have to agree on everything, sharing a similar vision for the project or industry is key. This alignment makes collaboration feel less like a chore and more like a natural partnership. When you have a similar understanding of what success looks like, it's easier to work toward a common goal. The opportunity to grow and learn. The relationship should be a two-way street where both parties learn from each other. Your colleague or mentor challenges you to think differently and provides opportunities for growth, and you do the same for them. It's a dynamic where you both feel a sense of progress. Essentially, a good professional relationship in the context of pursuing a passion helps you to not only do the work you love but to grow as a person and a professional. It's an alliance that makes the journey more fulfilling and successful.
Very, very good. Maybe we can tie that together with a story. Can you share with me a true story about the excellence where they were able to achieve because they were in a good professional relationship?
In 1999, a young and relatively unknown director named Christopher Nolan was trying to get his second feature film off the ground. He had a tight budget and a complex, non-linear script for a movie called Memento. It was a huge risk, and many studios were hesitant to fund it. This is where a professional relationship made all the difference. Nolan had built a strong, trusting relationship with a producer named Aaron Ryder on his first film, a low-budget project called Following. During that experience, Nolan demonstrated his talent, his clear vision, and his work ethic, and Ryder saw his potential. When Nolan presented the script for Memento, Ryder was one of the few people who immediately understood his brilliance. He didn't just see the project, he saw the person. He trusted Nolan's ability to execute this difficult story in a way that no one else could. Instead of seeing Nolan as an unproven risk, Ryder saw him as a professional partner. He spent months championing the film, fighting for a budget, and convincing investors to take a chance on an unconventional project with an unknown director. Because of this solid professional relationship, built on mutual trust, shared vision, and proactive support, Memento was made. It was a massive critical and commercial success, earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Original Screenplay and launching Nolan's career into the stratosphere. Ryder's faith in Nolan wasn't just a hunch. It was a testament to the power of a professional relationship built on a foundation of respect and a shared belief in each other's abilities. Without that bond, one of the most innovative films of the 21st century might never have been made.
Interesting, isn't it? When someone has your back, they can help you get your goals and dreams to move along. I did not know about Christopher Nolan, nor did I see the movie Memento. So, but as they say in life, you're gonna, just because someone else thinks you have a bad idea doesn't mean it is a bad idea or no one else is going to enjoy your idea. What I hope for anyone what they work with is they find a community of people who have the same vision and dream. And if there is something wrong with that vision, hopefully those closest to you can help you perhaps find a better vision than what you've had before, and not just scrap it and kick you to the curb and have you start all over. So even if you lost your job and feel like you have to find a new career, you should be able to at least have some sort of community to lean upon to help you figure out your next steps in getting your next chapter of life. That, again, will be beneficial for everyone, not just fill in a position that no one seems to care about. So, one resource I wanted to include in this, as I've been learning about this one more, called Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix. And it's a guide for couples, but really I'm learning it's pretty much a guide for anyone. I'm not seeing it on the back of this, but I looked this up real quick before I started. This guy did start with a master's in divinity, so was a Baptist pastor before he became a therapist, and he brings up the concept of imago therapy. That's the fancy word for it. If you want to look it up, that's the phrase he is. But you can just ask AI about the title of the book. And I find it very helpful. So maybe, I'll do that now. What are we asking? I found the book Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix to be very inspirational. Would you mind summarizing it for me?
That's a fantastic book and a great choice for finding inspiration. Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix is a landmark book in relationship therapy, and it's a core text for what's known as imago relationship therapy. The central idea of the book is that our choice of a romantic partner is not random. Instead, we are unconsciously drawn to a person who has both the positive and negative traits of our primary caregivers, usually our parents. Hendrix calls this unconscious image the imago. Here's a summary of the key concepts and stages outlined in the book. 1. The imago and the unconscious marriage. Why we choose our partners. The book posits that we choose our partners based on a subconscious drive to heal our unresolved childhood wounds. Our psyche believes that if we find someone with similar traits to our caregivers, we can finally get the love and validation that we didn't receive as a child, thus healing our old hurts. The romantic stage. This is the honeymoon phase of a relationship. It feels magical and effortless because our unconscious mind sees our partner as the perfect person to meet our needs. We feel whole and complete. 2. The power struggle. The inevitable shift. The honeymoon phase doesn't last. As the initial projection of our ideal partner wears off, we start to see our partner for who they truly are, and their flaws often trigger the very wounds we were trying to heal. The source of conflict, the things that initially attracted us, a partner's quiet strength, for example, can become the source of conflict. We start to resent their quietness as emotional distance. This is the power struggle, where both partners are unconsciously demanding that the other person be different and meet the needs that were unmet in childhood. 3. The conscious partnership. The path to healing. The book's major message is that the power struggle is not the end of a relationship. It is the beginning of a genuine opportunity for growth. Instead of trying to change each other, couples must become conscious and understand that the conflict is rooted in their own pasts. The couple's dialogue. To move out of the power struggle, Hendrix introduces a structured communication tool called the couple's dialogue. This process involves 3 steps. 1. Mirroring. One person speaks and the other person listens without interruption, and then repeats what they heard to confirm they understood. 2. Validation. The listener then validates the speaker's feelings, acknowledging that what they are saying makes sense, even if they don't agree with it. 3. Empathy. The listener then tries to imagine and express what the speaker must be feeling. Healing through the relationship. By engaging in this dialogue, partners become a source of healing for each other. Instead of demanding that their partner change, they learn to meet their partner's needs and help them heal their old wounds. This, in turn, helps them heal their own. In essence, getting the love you want reframes a relationship from a problem to be solved into a journey of shared growth. It's a call to move from an unconscious, reactive partnership to a conscious, intentional one, where both people can finally get the love they've always wanted, not by changing their partner, but by understanding themselves and their partner on a deeper level.
I really, even this summary, I find fascinating. And so, one phrase this summary didn't include in here that the book mentions is the phrase of becoming wounded warriors together. So again, we all have our problems, and we're all trying to get through this world. And so by kind of like the 5 love languages, where we try to find out what we're struggling with the most, this more specifically focus on just the things that are triggering. So, so if for some reason, if maybe your spouse gets triggered by the kind of music you listen to, so you could ask, well, why is it? What is it about that music that I find enjoyable, you get put off about? And what's interesting when it goes through the book is the person might respond with initial answer that something that sounds very objective, like, well, it's just not my taste. I don't find it very inspiring. But when you ask the question of, well, was there anything in your childhood where you experienced that kind of music? And they say, well, yeah, my abusive ex from a previous relationship enjoyed that music, and every time I hear that music, I really don't care about it. So what he really gets out here is, while we like to be objective and sound like we have complete control over our thinking and what sets us off, really a lot of times, especially in our childhood, what develops us and what leads us to understand who we are and what we want and what bothers us is often more subconscious. So I love to talk about the parents thing. I find that one fascinating. But if you want, I guess you want to know more, you can read the book. The book is very long, I find it, and technical, and there's plenty of examples and stories there. And so if you like technical things, it's all there. If you just want to skim through it, you could probably get a whole lot out of it too. There's worksheets in there to help people move along. So I guess you could say it's a self-help book, as there's no one supervising you, but anyone who can use a little bit of sense of judgment and willing to try something new, I think will be very blessed. In fact, I think I could even find scripture verses to support this approach. And so let me go ahead and ask, how might the scriptures support this approach for people to come together as wounded warriors? Question mark.
Some scriptures can be interpreted to support the core principles of Harville Hendrix's approach, particularly the idea of moving from a state of conflict to a conscious, healing partnership. While Hendrix's work is based in psychology, many of its themes, forgiveness, empathy, and unconditional love, resonate with biblical teachings, uniting as wounded warriors. The idea of wounded warriors coming together is a powerful metaphor that aligns with the Christian concept of brokenness and redemption. Rather than seeing a relationship as a union of two perfect people, the scripture often portrays it as a journey for two imperfect, wounded individuals to support each other through grace. 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 8 states, "Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins." This can be seen as a call to move beyond the power struggle and a partner's flaws. Deep love in this sense is not a superficial emotion but an active choice to cover and forgive a partner's sins or imperfections, much like the conscious partnership requires accepting a partner's faults. Galatians chapter 6 verse 2 says, "Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." This directly supports the idea of a conscious partnership, where partners work together to heal each other's wounds or burdens. Instead of seeing a partner's struggles as a source of frustration, this verse encourages a mindset of mutual support and shared responsibility. Empathy and understanding. A core component of imagotherapy is the couple's dialogue, which is based on mirroring, validation, and empathy. The Bible also emphasizes the importance of understanding another person's perspective. Philippians chapter 2 verses 3 to 4 advises, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others." This passage speaks directly to the need for empathy. It encourages a shift from self-interest, the root of the power struggle, to an active interest in a partner's well-being and perspective, which is at the heart of the couple's dialogue. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 2 encourages believers to be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love. This verse provides a spiritual foundation for the tools of imagotherapy. Patience and gentleness are crucial for the mirroring and validation process, which requires setting aside one's own agenda to truly listen to a partner. Forgiveness and healing. Hendrix's approach ultimately aims to heal childhood wounds within the context of a loving relationship. Scripture also views forgiveness as a key to personal and relational healing. Colossians chapter 3 verse 13 is a powerful verse for this topic. "Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you." This verse provides a framework for how a conscious partnership can operate. It suggests that just as one has been forgiven by God, they should extend that same forgiveness to their partner, releasing the resentments that fuel the power struggle and making room for healing. James chapter 5 verse 16 states, "Therefore confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed." This verse highlights the importance of vulnerability and open communication, the very foundation of the couple's dialogue. Confessing one's sins or flaws to a partner and praying together can be a powerful act of building trust and facilitating mutual healing. In short, while not explicitly biblical, the principles of getting the love you want can be seen as a psychological framework for living out many biblical principles of love, forgiveness, and empathy in a modern relationship.
Fantastic. So I really don't think any more there needs to be said. And really, I'd find these all these things to be helpful, not in just romantic relationships, but even in professional relationships as well. You may not be too emotional when you're in professional relationships, but when you can, as Galatians 6:2 said, carry each other's burdens in a way that you will fulfill the law of Christ. In other words, you help. The idea is in the trench work level, teamwork, bearing burdens, and not just offering advice. You're working together to achieve a common goal. I also want to include Ecclesiastes 4:9 through 10. "Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can build another up." So while AI may be there for you 24/7 and uh, uh, respond to your questions in a positive manner, basically not judgmental. um, it's when you fall down, uh, when you get to the point when you can't help yourself, AI is not going to help you. Well, unless you right, it's maybe you can call for 911, but um, to have someone who knows what you need before you know it is a good friend to have. And it's hard to find. Truth be told, I'm still searching for a great set of friends. Not that I don't have good people to talk to already, but I realize I could probably use a little bit of coaching in areas that I don't even realize I haven't developed yet. So, and it takes a special person willing to give you the time to do that coaching. And so, to wrap this up, let's do a quiz. Can you give me 5 questions that are multiple choice that review on the things we talked about? Oh, wait, I didn't go. Can you give me a 5-question multiple choice review on the things that we have just talked about?
This quiz will test your understanding of the topics we have just discussed: unhealthy emotional attachment to AI chatbots, the qualities of a good professional relationship, and the core principles of Harville Hendrix's Getting the Love You Want. You've got this. Take the quiz to see what you've learned.
Well, I got a document, so we'll just go ahead and open it up and see what comes. Is it going to work? So let's see. According to our discussion, let's do the screen. According to our discussion, which of the following is a primary sign of an unhealthy emotional attachment to an AI chatbot? The person uses the chatbot to quickly look up factual information. The person believes the chatbot can help solve the problem of a complex mathematical problem, and the person refers to it interact with the chatbot over spending time with friends and family, and apparently that's right. He says the person can occasionally use the chatbot to vent about a frustrating day. He says, I like how that is an option. Sometimes, like journaling, if just someone to vent to, I think that's better than posting it online. But again, you got to figure out where your best support for venting is. So next one. What is the key principle of a good professional relationship, as demonstrated by the story of Christopher Nolan and Aaron Ryder? One person who's always in a position of authority and makes all decisions. It requires frequent social outings and personal conversations. That sounds good. It's built on a foundation of mutual respect and trust. The relationship is strictly transactional and focused on monetary gain. Well, I'm gonna go with C. That's interesting. So the one on here is not you're just talking to each other and spending time with each other. It's that you actually got a point to where you trust the person to help lead you, not just be impersonal the whole time. So according to Harville Hendrix, what is the imago? The act of one partner constantly monitoring the other person's emotions, the conscious decision to forgive a person's flaws, the unconscious image of an ideal partner based upon our childhood experiences, a stage of relationship where conflict is intentionally avoided. So I'm going to go with B. And that is not quite. The act of forgiveness is a part of the partnership which comes after understanding the imago power of struggle. So I guess I didn't understand the question. An unconscious. So what is the imago? So that's not what we're supposed to do, but the imago is the unconscious image of an ideal partner based on our childhood experiences. I learned something new today. How does the power struggle stage of a relationship begin according to the getting you love you want? When the couple first meets and falls in love, when a couple successfully completes all experiences in the book, when the initial projection of an ideal partner wears off and partner flaws become apparent, when both partners initially decide to challenge one another to grow. How does the primary stage? I'd probably do C. Yeah. This is the precise point where the power struggle begins. The idealized version of the partner fades, and the reality of the partner triggers childhood wounds. Last one. Which biblical principle, as discussed, is most aligned with the concept of carrying each other's burdens and healing past wounds within a relationship? All things are lawful for me, and all things are helpful. Do not be unequally yoked. Carry each other's burdens, or an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. Yes, no laws. What people often go to at first about carrying each other's burdens is the proactive response. So, with that, anything else? That's it. So I hope this was helpful for you and you learned something, and I'm impressed by AI. Again, I feel replaced, but my hope for people is they just get the answers. And a lot of this session was really asking the right questions. So hopefully whatever next AI task you have, you can ask the right questions to get the right answers. God's blessings and good night.